Well folks, there we have it. We now have 23 of the 24 championship sides for next season confirmed. We know the 3 going up and the 3 going down, and it's just that League One playoff final which remains to be played. One of Barnsley or Sheffield Wednesday will be joining the championship action next season. I have to say, going off the clubs that are in the championship next season, it's already shaping up like a fascinating year. In today's video we'll be having a bit of a deeper dive into the final match week of the Premier League, discussing the 3 sides who will be coming down to the Premier League, and of course the championship playoff final. So much to dive into with that cracking game we had in the end between Coventry and Luton. As always, make sure to leave a like if you do go on to enjoy today's video, and do get your thoughts on the general championship season in the comments down below and what you're most looking forward to heading into next season. But without any further ado, let's first of all touch on the playoff final. My gut feeling right now is saying 1-1 between these two, and Luton just snatch on penalties. So not to toot my own horn or anything, but I did call this one spot on in the end. Had it go in the distance, 1-1 in regular time, then to penalties, and I did say Luton would have it from the spot kicks, and that's exactly how it transpired in the end. Cracking game of football between both sides, I have to say. From watching on Sky, really looked like both sets of fans really brought the atmosphere to Wembley as well, so credit to both of them, and it was a really interesting matchup. First half, I think it's fair to say that Luton could have had this game wrapped up in terms of rising to the occasion and coming with that game plan. Coventry looked like they didn't know what quite hit them in that first half. Clark deservedly gave them the lead, but could have been 2 or 3 up going into half time, and Coventry very much had to recollect their thoughts in that half time spell. But whatever Mark Robins said at that half time break, it clearly had the desired effect, because they came out in the second half like the sides who were really up for it and getting back into this game, and in the end it was their 2 main men linking up, and the danger men we said going into it, like everyone in the preview. Gyökeres linking up with Harmer, a fantastic finish from him, 1-1, and then heading into extra time, Luton think they've won it, but that goal's ruled out, and apart from that it's all very much tense between the 2 sides. We head towards penalties, and I have to say the standard of penalty, considering the pressure on all these players and the occasions and stuff like that, the standard of penalties was absolutely superb. Do feel gutted for Darbo in the end, a player who's represented Coventry for as long as he had, to miss that crucial spot kick, just going for the top corner but not quite placing it right. But yeah, what a moment for Luton Town, but real commiserations for Coventry, because this was the tale of 2 underdogs, and I can't lie, whoever was promoted here, I would have been absolutely buzzing for the overall fan base, because it's been an absolute ride over the last 5 or so years throughout the EFL for both of these sides. On the balance of the full game, I would probably say that Luton did just about edged it, and do deservedly so have their place in the Premier League for next season. Don't worry Luton fans, we will still be touching on the Premier League now and again, so no reason to completely disregard the channel as you head into your Premier League adventure. But in terms of Coventry, it's really interesting what will happen with them from this point onwards. I think we all anticipate both Gyökeres and Hamer to be off in the summer. I think that's more than likely going to be the case, and there was that quite worrying trend maybe that was set by Huddersfield last season, how they lost obviously in the playoff final to Nottingham Forest, and how that squad got disassembled, and then we saw them drop like a stone throughout the championship. The difference I feel like Coventry have compared to Huddersfield is they've got a little bit more stability with Mark Robins in at the post there. You know, he recently signed that new long-term contract with them, and it feels like as long as Robins is in post at Coventry, while it might not be another season where they go one better, you know, they've got this amazing trend at the moment, Coventry, where every season they better their last one. Well, I'm not sure that's going to happen going into next season. I don't think we'll get a drop-off, you know, as brutal as we saw with that Huddersfield one, even if they are to lose some key players this summer. But it's a fantastic moment for Luton Town. Watching some of the interviews after the match did bring a smile to my face. The job that Rob Edwards has done there, but that overall collective group of players and everyone behind the scenes at Luton. Start of the season, I think I predicted them to finish 7th in the championship, so the fact that they went 3rd to be promoted at Wembley as well, I'm sure Luton fans will be partying all week long. So do drop your comments down below on what you made of the playoff final and the overall spectacle and things like that. Luton fans, in tomorrow's video will be going a little bit more in depth into how you could potentially line up in the Premier League next season. But now let's flip over to the Premier League final day and discuss some of the sides that will be joining us in the Championship next season from the Premier League. So obviously we knew of Southampton's relegation to the Championship for quite some time, time they had been rooted to the bottom of the Premier League and obviously had that relegation confirmed well before the final game week of the season. Southampton are an interesting club. We've had quite a few rumblings about them already as they've known their Championship status for quite some time. Seems as if Russell Martin is the pending manager to go in there. We discussed that in a little bit more detail on a previous episode of the Championship transfer rumour roundup. But generally speaking, stylistically for the group of players they have at the moment, I do think that's a decent fit. Martin will certainly have to prove himself in a side where there is going to be more expectation than that's been thrust on him than at Swansea. But in terms of style of play, working with youngsters, you can see why the Saints would look to go down that sort of route. Speaking of youngsters, this Southampton side is the youngest in the Premier League along with Arsenal, an average age of just 24.6 years old. It's clearly the recruitment strategy, I mean, that's been in there for the last few years, but especially in the most recent summer transfer window with the influx of youngsters coming in. And they're actually involved in a thrilling game on the final day of the season, a 4-4 draw with Liverpool, which showed, I mean, maybe the best and worst of Southampton. Some nice attacking combinations going forward, but a leaky back line. No doubt that they will lose the majority of their big hitters. I mean, I can't see James Ward-Prowse for one sticking around, but I am particularly interested to see what will happen with the futures of a lot of the youngsters who they have got in that side at the moment and whether or not they will be poached off by Premier League clubs. I mean, watching the last game week of the season, for instance, players like Suleimana and Alcaraz, I could just see having so much fun in the Championship, almost akin to someone like Joao Pedro at Watford, if you get me, from dropping down to the Premier League to the Championship and just, you know, really ripping it up. So recruitment's going to be absolutely huge for the Saints in the summer, but I think along with the other two relegated clubs that we are going to speak about, the priority and aim will be promotion at the first time of asking. Clubs that are coming down from the Premier League absolutely have to take advantage of having those 3 years of parachute payments, because as soon as they run out, it gets a hell of a lot tougher to get up after that 3-year period. And every season that you are in the Championship extra that you have come down from, I do think it gets harder year upon year. We also had Leeds' relegation confirmed on the final day. We did do a bit of a deeper dive into Leeds, what's gone wrong for them this season last week, so make sure to go ahead and check that video out on the channel. Ultimately, they needed a hell of a lot to go their way on the final game week, and even themselves, they needed to get the job done against Spurs, and that didn't happen, with Spurs showing up at Elland Road. Ultimately, giving Big Sam 4 games at the end of the season was just way too much, with not enough time to go ahead and turn the ship around there. And I do think that more work is probably needed at Leeds than Southampton, bizarrely enough. I look at that Southampton squad, and while I do see them losing players, I still see the basis of a solid Championship spine, whereas at Leeds it feels like an overall mentality shift is needed at the club, along with the fact they'll be looking for a new manager, director of football, so much to go on behind the scenes that it just feels like a lot more work needs to go into Leeds from building them up from the ground up than it probably does with Southampton. So from the outside looking in, it's going to be a very busy summer, I'm sure, for Leeds. And then we had quite possibly the most shocking relegation of them all, and that's Leicester City, a club who's been accustomed to fighting for Europe in the last few years, to now be back in the Championship. It's been a crazy ride for Leicester fans, and had you told people at the start of the season that they'd be playing next season in the Championship, I don't think a lot of people would have believed you. It's tough to make a prediction with them as well, quite similar to Leeds, because we just don't know what the makeup of that squad's going to be next season going into the Championship. We go over their 1 to 11 at the moment, and I mean, the vast majority of that squad is going to get picked away. I think the problem that Leicester have had, and a main contributing factor to, you know, for me, why a lot of those players potentially haven't been up for the fight in the second half of the season, is because the vast majority of them know that they're going to be off at the end of the season, and that when you don't have that accountability and you know you have that easy escape route, you know, what chance have you got then as, I suppose, an incoming manager coming in to try and salvage that situation? Not that any of the managers are faultless for this Leicester season or anything like that, but the likes of Maddison, Tielemans, Castagna, Barnes and Didi, Iheanacho, etc., will all be off in the summer. There's no doubt about that. None of them will be sticking around for the Championship. And so to then go ahead and completely overhaul that squad, you know, a lot of people at the end of this season have said, oh, how easy it's been for Vincent Kompany and Burnley to go ahead and do that. But I think as Leicester, Southampton and Leeds fans are about to experience a total squad rebuild, bringing in a new manager, it's a lot easier said than done. Obviously, Leicester did get their job done on the final game week of the season, beating West Ham, but it wasn't enough in the end. And I think the vast majority of us thought that Everton would, in some shape or form, get a result against Bournemouth, and in the end they got just that to maintain their Premier League status. So Championship next season for Leicester, it's It's gearing up to be an exciting year, I have to say, for neutrals of the Championship. There we have it though guys, that'll wrap it up for today's video. Just a quick little summary of the playoff final and the last weekend of that Premier League season. Very much looking forward to diving into the content, looking forward to next season in the Championship. I can already tell it's going to be a really exciting one. But we will also have some preview content for the sides going up to the Premier League as well, and how we see them faring and things like that. So do stick around for a little bit more of that on the next few weeks in the channel. Apart from that though guys, thanks for watching. If you did go and enjoy, do leave a like and stick around and subscribe for some regular Championship content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.